two before the one. Wisdom is water, I'm the daughter of the cannon fodder. Applied knowledge and insight, a born scholar. Look like a martyr to marauders like Ture. Wise owl slaughter, whack MCs order applauder. Original woman, decipher the womb. Crown of creation, fruit of the planet, earth and the moon.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wise the Dome. Today, man, is going to be a very dope episode. Very, very special guests. Like I said, great thinkers, great talented musicians. Great everything, man. And I appreciate you brothers for coming through. Brother Slank, Sonny Ture, man. Appreciate y'all for coming.
Yeah, much love. Thanks for having us, brother.
No doubt.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. First, before we get into the music, we were going to build some about the Black Arts Movement, and if you could just kind of give an overview of the Black Arts Movement and elaborate on its significance within the cultural and historical context.
All right. Yeah. So like. The Black Arts Movement was basically a movement of writers, musicians, poets, playwrights, every kind of artists and different people within the Black community that do art. But basically, it was coming out of like the mid '60s through the '70s. Kind of most of the focus is usually on New York and the movement that Amiri Barka was kind of leading up there in New Jersey. But there was also, it wasn't just fixated in one place. It was all over the country. There was kind of, even before the official birth of the Black Arts Movement, there was like a rising consciousness in music and in general with the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power Movement after that. So it was kind of like an artistic front of the Black Power Movement and intertwined with it. But yeah, I think the start will be marked by when Amiri Barka moved up to Harlem in 1965 after the death of Malcolm X. He had been living, mostly hanging with like white beat poets, and I know his first wife was white, and so he had been living more in kind of like the Greenwich Village intellectual, bohemian type of white areas. And he kind of had an awakening after Malcolm passed and was assassinated, and he moved up and opened this Black Arts Repertory Theater in Harlem, and that's where a lot of the movement got started, and basically incorporating like a lot of jazz and just using music as like a liberation, music and art in general as a liberation tool in the Black Power movement.
Yeah, that's dope. And also too, this is a good book if anybody hasn't read it, Blues People by it's Leroy Jones then, but that is Amiri Barka. Like I often feel like cultural revolution is important, just to kind of orient ourselves with who we are and orient ourselves with what has been taken from us in a lot of cases, right? Do you think that this kind of the Black Arts Movement, do you think that it kind of helped in that aspect as far as a cultural revolution where people began to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, and attempt to orient themselves with Black culture at home and abroad?
I definitely think so. For sure. I think it was indispensable towards that. I think Slank might have mentioned it, but it was pushing this idea that art for art's sake is some European shit, and that we have to make art that's wed to us as a people and wed to our politics. So I know I was reading some Malana Karenga. I know he's a controversial figure, but
right.
On the topic of the Black Arts Movement, he said a lot. On the topic of cultural nationalism, he said a lot. So on Black art, he said it has to be three aspects of Black art that I really appreciated what he said. He said it has to be functional, collective, and committed. Functional in the sense that it has to be useful, not just art for art's sake, but art for the people. Collective in the sense that it must be from the people, and it has to be given back to the people in a more beautiful way than it was received. I like that part a lot. And then committed, it has to be committed to revolution and change. It must commit us to a future that is ours. It must commit us to all that is us, yesterday, today, and what he said, the sunrise of tomorrow. So yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, that's wow. It kind of makes me think about another quote Amiri Baraka had where I'm simply paraphrasing here, but he talked about how art was supposed to lead people to their best selves, to a certain level of consciousness. Like now, whenever we see where music is now, and I'm not even just talking about like hip hop, just music in general. We can look at a lot of different genres all across the board. Do you think that we are in need for another cultural revolution artistically? And anybody can go ahead, just jump in.
Yeah, go ahead, Slank.
No, yeah, definitely. I think we definitely are in need of another Black arts movement, another more conscious period in music. I mean, even in the 90s, it was like a more conscious resurgence type of thing. I feel like we need another one. And I mean, that's what we trying to do with these Nation Time albums and, Push On in general. But
yeah. I feel like in today's day and age, I'm sure y'all see it too, like with hip hop, a lot of or just music in general, too much of it is just like just a presentation just for entertainment value only, or just, really, laced with materialism, with no real purpose behind it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying there's no place for that, but like Karanga, I would also question, is that it might be art, but is it Black art? If it's not wed to those, principles.
Yeah, that's a definitely a idea that all the artists that are watching, that's definitely an idea I would like for them to just think about. Like if your art has nothing, and nobody's talking about like you have to be like the next Malcolm X on wax. You know what I'm saying? That's not. I don't think what anybody is saying, but it has to be Black and authentic, and like you said, committed for a certain and desired outcome. And I feel like in a lot of cases, people just not. I'm not going to say everybody, because there are some amazing artists out there, especially in hip hop on the underground scene. Y'all being part of that, but making music just to be making music is especially like when the album doesn't really sound like it has a purpose. It's like I saw that was the criticism with Joe Budden and Drake, where he felt like he's not really growing up with his audience. You know what I'm saying? And people ask how can Nas, still sell out shows at 50, and how a lot of these other artists still have, even ones that aren't as big, have these cult followings that will show up to every show, whether it's a club or arena type of thing. And I think it's because the relatability of your album having a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like to be able to hear your story, to be able to hear how you think, your ideas expressed musically. Like I think that's important. Like how and I don't want to deviate too much from the Black arts movement because I do have a couple more questions on that. But like for y'all, like how important is it like to be authentically you, and like you said, be committed to make an album and make music that has a purpose?
No, yeah. I mean, when I write music in general, that's just like kind of how I write. It's just about that kind of stuff. I try to like put in, history and stuff, not overload it, but just keep that in there. And I don't see. I personally don't feel like I need to tone it down or anything to like get along to get along type shit. But yeah, I'll let Sonny go on that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I battled with as an artist, like I feel like starting out conscious, but then, you know, having ups and downs with it, you know, kind of just maybe kind of keeping track of my life in some ways. But yeah, I feel like not every song gotta be
Right.
conscious,
I
you
agree.
know, but I mean, if it's not part of your whole corpus of your work, then it's something lacking, because it's such a part of who we are, you know what I'm saying, as a collective, where we're at, you know, condition wise. And if it's not there, then it's not as human, it's not as black as it should be, you know. And yeah, yeah.
That's a good that I like when you said that it's not as human, right? And the fact that every song does not have to be about this. That sometimes I think the authenticity and the reality, like in certain songs, they don't have to be conscious at all. I just, unless it's aimed to be a party joint or something like that, which has a place obviously in hip hop. People like hearing you though, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like the one of the biggest problems is um what is pushed is like a cookie cutter thing that goes through a conveyor belt, and whenever, you know, this MC isn't hot anymore, there's one right behind it that's just like it aesthetically and all, you know what I'm saying?
No, definitely. And even with uh like the Black Arts Movement, that was uh basically, as like the government started to like target these groups and these Black Power organizations and stuff, because they were putting out this revolutionary art, they then replaced it with their own cookie cutter version of Black art, sanitized, you know what I'm saying? Basically Negro art is what they
Yeah,
would
yeah.
and so like
Crazy.
but yeah, like that's another thing, like they co-opt, because even like the masses of people, there's like consciousness and stuff, even if it's not at the front, like people instinctively feel a certain way. So if you're not putting any kind of mention of stuff that's going on in your music, that's going to sound disconnected. So even like big artists that aren't conscious, they're still going to talk about, you know what I'm saying, police brutality or something, maybe, or just stuff that's going on, because like instinctively people out there, that's what like they're dealing with. And so I think it just we just need to try to raise it to a higher level, I guess, because it's already out there. You know what I'm saying? Just bring it forward more.
Yeah,
Go
one
ahead.
thing that Karenga said again that I liked a lot, just on the topic of Black art, he said, really, there's no such thing as art for art's sake. He said all art reflects the value system from which it comes. So that's something also, like, it made me like that's gonna be something I think about as I go forward to make more music. You know what I'm saying? Like, and really as I listen to other music, like, you know, if this ain't coming from no Black value system, you know, then where is it coming from? Usually it's coming from the values of the dominant society, capitalism,
Absolutely.
white supremacy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And now and like the people that are putting out a lot of this music, as far as in the mainstream, we definitely know their value system, and it's to make a dollar, regardless to whom or what, especially, and if they can exploit Black folks at the same time, they all for it. You know, it kind of trips me out. Like I hear that it was that clip from Was Intelligent, where he was talking he was at a panel, and he was talking about, you know, how Young Buck was putting out an album, his first album, and, you know, throughout the whole album, you know, he's killing dudes and all of this, but there was a song on there about police brutality and busting back at the police, and then the label was like, nah, we can't have that, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, but you're cool with the violence against ourselves, you know, you're cool with that on the record, but you're not cool with, and it's just a song, right? It's not, it's if they feel like music can incite that type of violence against the quote unquote authorities, then can it incite that same type of violence against ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not one to blame any type of you know, inter-community violence on hip hop, because that's crazy, because it's been going on since. But I have seen people, impressionable people, take a lot of these ideas and tropes that they see in the mainstream and act as if that is reality. Like, have y'all seen like anything similar as far as, because like we're all three educated enough to know that this is not the root of the issue. I don't want anybody to get it misconstrued, but to say hip hop doesn't and pop culture doesn't have any influence on people, I would think that would be incorrect, right?
I mean, just to answer that quickly, I'll pass it to Slank after this. Anybody that's worked with Black youth close, you know how easily impression they are about what is played around them, the popular songs. Like anybody that says this idea that like there's a total disconnection between mainstream or popular hip hop and what's being impressed upon our community, like I think they wrong. Like, and I work with the youth close to the youth, you know what I'm saying? And you see the effect that it has on them. And then you see also where, you know, their life takes them. You know what I'm saying? Now that, like you said, it's not, I'm not trying to make it like over deterministic just with the music, but there's something about the values that you hear on a repeated basis, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And how that weaves into, you know, your daily thoughts, you know, so yeah.
Indeed.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. And like you were saying, like music is so much more mass accessible. So like people, you're gonna hear a song on the radio before you might, you know, get deep into some Malcolm books or like read about something else. So and that's another reason why it's so targeted. You know, like FBI wouldn't have been raiding Baraka's art theater where he was putting on black plays and stuff if and having Son Ra play music if it wasn't some kind of like threat or something like that. So
so he had so they was raiding the FBI was raiding his theater and trying to shut down his plays and all of that.
Definitely. Well, that goes into, because all right, so originally when he first opened that theater, this is right around the time when Lyndon Johnson was trying to put out these programs like alleviate poverty and all this stuff. So right across the street was Hotel Teresa from where he had this theater. And out of the Hotel Teresa, some black politician up there, one of Adam Clayton Powell's dudes or something, was running some kind of program where he was like giving out money to different Harlem groups that were willing to do. Basically, they was trying to stop riots, so they was trying to fund any kind of diversion program or anything like that. But this is right when Barack is coming into more black consciousness, and so for a while they was getting money from like some government program that was sending money through some Harlem office to like promote cultural stuff or whatever. But they was using it to like go way too hard for what the government was like feeling, I guess. And they didn't care at all. So like at one point, Shriver, who was JFK's like brother-in-law, some high politician guy named Shriver, who claimed himself to be like a real progressive liberal. I think he started the Peace Corps. You know what I'm saying? So like, kind of that like liberal but still imperialist arm of the ruling class. So like Shriver comes down to visit, see what's happening in Harlem with all this. This is like 65 when this first started. And Barack and them wouldn't even let him in the building. They was like, tell him go fuck yourself. Like that. So after that, the government completely stopped giving any kind of money to whatever they was trying to do in Harlem. But they keep moving, but it was harder without them funds. And that's when they realized you got to build an economic base. You got to have your own publishing companies. You got to have your own connections and stuff. And that's really another part of why the music that we get mass, like on the mass airwaves and stuff, is probably so watered down and stuff, is because we don't control the record companies, the publishing companies, things like that. And that's really what the Black artists are trying to do to self-reliance, so we can say our own whatever we want type shit.
Yeah, see, and that's needed, man, because we have artists like yourself. We have a lot of indie artists that are extremely talented. You know, when people say, and I know you've heard this before, and I hate it, but I also don't blame them too much. But they definitely got to take some of the blame for being lazy. But a lot of times people will say, man, you know, hip hop is dead, you know, or everybody coming out is whack now. It's like, nah, that's everybody coming out on the mainstream is whack, right? Whenever you're tapped into the indie artists and the underground, man, it's people that are really spitting and pushing the culture forward. It's dope MCs like yourself, dope producers like yourself, and it's important. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, is because like I was, I was kind of like seeing how a lot of the other platforms were only having one type of artist, and they were only talking to them about crime, right? And so we look at media, and we look at music, and we look at entertainment, and it goes hand in hand. So if one thing, let's say you got artist A, right? Yeah, artist A he went on the YouTube media circuit with all the big media channels, even some of the culture vultures. And so artist A puts out an album. Album's not really talking about anything different than what everybody else is talking about. But then to promote that album, artist goes on his press run on these YouTube podcasts. Everybody on the podcast is asking him, yo, so what's up with the beef that you got with artist B? What's up with, back in, before you got on, like you did 4 years in prison, or you shot so-and-so. And that's all they talk. They're not even asking about the music. You know what I'm saying? So it's always, and so I just implore people, like not only to watch, for people that aren't tapped in with some of the artists that I have on here, to like, after you watch the interview, like go listen to the music, you know what I mean, and save it. And because once you start, like I noticed, like ever since I got tapped in with the indie scene, and I would save certain albums to my phone, then they become part of the algorithm, and so it starts recommending artists that are like that. So at this point, there's not really, in my opinion, an excuse not to know. But I just wanted to get my little PSA on to let everybody know, like, hey man, it's great, talented art. Look, I'm having a dope conversation about the Black arts movement with MC and a producer who is dope on the mic and dope on the boards, but are able to have these type of conversations as well. You know what I mean? And so that says a lot, man. So make sure everybody, like y'all tap in, save the albums to your phone so it can be a part of the algorithm. I want to, after just to pivot a little bit from the Black arts movement, one of the other things obviously that's big in the news right now is the situation that's going on in Palestine, right? What are your thoughts on the way Western media has been portraying what's been happening in Palestine?
I mean, I think in large part it's a pity party for Zionists. It's a pity party for the settlers, the colonizers over there. And I mean, they pay just a little bit of lip service to the humanity of Palestinian people, but it's only to check a box before they get right back into the purpose, the utility of this propaganda, elitist media. And it's to support imperialism. Biden, I think Slank posted this on Twitter a while back. Biden said if there wasn't an Israel right now, we would create one to protect our interests in the Middle East. I mean, not ours. I'm speaking from Biden's point of view. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
but
right.
To protect the white American Western imperialist interests over there, and that's basically what I think. Yeah, I mean, and also, yeah, I mean, not enough attention paid to the despair and the tragedies faced by Palestinian people that are fighting for liberation righteously. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, because I saw on Twitter, and just Slank, I want you to expound on that too, but I saw on Twitter support coming from the Congressional Black Caucus, and I was like, oh man, you do we support Israel with all our, this is what's happening here is a travesty, not to mention any type of Palestinian, right? And then obviously we knew that, I mean, nobody's surprised that Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders offering their support for Israel as well. And the reason I brought that up, because social media is still definitely a form of media. But Slank, yeah, what are your thoughts on how and also too, before I even say that, like I was on a like in like a study group, and we had to watch a we had to watch a documentary on revolution in Nicaragua, and one of the one of the words that I was given to define and to study was mediatic invasion, and it was a word that they were using in Nicaragua for what was happening as far as Western media almost attempting, well, pretty much Western media attempting to justify a coup in Nicaragua that was only supported by a small amount of people who were pretty much puppets of the West. And, you know, this kind of the same thing with what's happening in Palestine. It reminds me of that. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Slank?
No, I agree. I agree with all that. One thing it reminded me of was I seen a New York Times article headline or whatever. It had a chart with like deaths between Israelis and Palestinians over the years, and it was the headline said like most people killed. It said something like most people ever killed in a year in the conflict, but like the graph had like 2,000 Palestinians dead in like 2012 and all these other years, but they just didn't count those as people, I guess, or something. It's like now that there's like 600, however many hundred Israeli got killed, they count that as like the most horrific thing that's ever happened, even though the whole nation was created on
Right.
something way more horrific. So like, yeah, it's a total. Western media is very one-sided, but I mean, a lot of the people like again who own and are in controlling positions of these companies, these media companies, are Zionists, whether they be Christians, Jewish, it don't matter, because like most right-wing Republican Christians in America, like Mike Huckabee types, are some of the most hardcore Zionists. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just a strategic outpost to carry out imperialism in Africa and the Middle East and everything. So yeah, if there wasn't, like Joe Biden said, if there wasn't Israel, they was going to create one. And yeah, no.
Yeah. I just one more thing, because you asked about like how the West is portraying the conflict, and now what we're seeing in the past few days is them casting Hamas and the Palestinian men in general as being you know, raping Israeli women.
That. You're right.
And you know, this goes into that, you know, colonial logic, you know, of you know, trying to convince the public of this colonized but savage and hyper violent male that you can't be reasoned with, only can be eliminated. So, you know, we're seeing that as the backdrop as well.
Didn't one of the leaders just call them human animals as well? Getting called like we're gonna eliminate the human animal, like wow, like they're putting it out there in everybody's face and nobody's saying anything.
And they said they're gonna like bomb all of Gaza unless you leave, but you can't leave Gaza. That's the thing. It's like they call it the biggest open air like prison concentration camp in the world. It's like the only ways out is through Israeli checkpoints or through Egypt, but you ain't, like, I think there's a process you gotta go to get through Egypt too. So like,
and they bombed the border between Egypt and Gaza recently as well.
Can y'all kind of explain a little bit like what the location of Gaza is, like as far is it like you know, that we also often hear the Gaza Strip? Is it a piece of land that was designated for the Palestinians and they really can't go anywhere outside of that?
Yeah, it's like one of the two or one of the few places within the borders of Israel where Palestinians are designated to live, like an apartheid situation basically, and very small strip of land toward the bottom, I think bordering Egypt. And even like Palestinians from there can't go to the other parts where Palestinians live without like certain paperwork and stuff like that. So people within Gaza are almost trapped. Like they are trapped. Israel controls their electricity flow, water,
right? Yeah,
everything. So and another thing, just like this reminded me of this too, getting back like the politician aspect of it in the US. The reason like all our politicians, regardless of party in the major in Congress or whatever, go for Israel too, is because anyone that wasn't like that has gotten purged out of politics. Like I remember I was watching a Steve Coakley video. He was talking about Gus Savage was a politician out of Illinois, congressman in like the 90s, 80s, 90s. And because he just consistently voted against like Israel and funding Israel and stuff like that, they gerrymandered his district. Rahm Emanuel
Wow.
worked with the Democratic Party to like discredit him, make him look like an anti-Semite, and they got him up out of there just because he was like consistently uh, adamant about the influence that Israel and pretty much the like how America is using Israel in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Were y'all surprised at Dr. Cornel West whenever he kind of came out and was like, you know, it's both sides need to come like no, that's not how that works. But you know, with him being a you know who someone who speaks a lot of leftist rhetoric and you know about socialism and things of that nature, or did it surprise y'all like whenever he kind of came out and seemingly support of Israel as well?
No, it didn't surprise me that he was playing that both sides stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, yeah, if Cornel West is a leftist, I think this is another example how leftist politics don't run parallel to nationalist politics.
Mm.
They don't, you know,
Mm-hmm.
these are two different, you know, I guess spectrums of politics that we need to account for. And so yeah, I'm not surprised by it. I know Slank ain't either. We talk about the Cornel West campaign weekly.
I mean, I would say he's obviously a better candidate. First off, I wouldn't vote in America for any white person from either of the two parties. That's just first off.
Facts.
After that, like the black person's got to be really like about it for me to
Mhm.
like consider voting for him. So, uh, I would vote for Cornel West over the other guys, but like, yeah, I just don't understand. I get he's running for president, he's trying to like present a more balanced whatever he considers front or whatever. But I don't think taking that position is gonna sway anybody to vote for him that wasn't already. Like
Right.
personally, I don't know, but
It feel like he would probably lose some of his loyal fan base more than he would gain anybody new, you know?
yeah, like I seen President Maduro in Venezuela. I seen him give a statement, and it was 100% on the side of the Palestinians. And so I just don't think Cornel West needed to do that.
Yeah.
If anything, he might have just not said anything, honestly.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Facts. Uh, and so speaking of that, like I've seen certain individuals, some from those delineation groups and others that are you know maybe just have this point of view. I personally don't. But what are your thoughts on a lot of individuals? Because I've seen it, especially today for some reason. But a lot of individuals saying that the events in Palestine don't have anything to do with Black people. This is, you know, that this is not our war. This is not our fight. You know, kind of ignoring the historical connection that of you know Black liberation and Palestinian liberation since the 60s. But like, what are your thoughts on you know that idea that what's happening there does not affect us here?
I say I I understand where it comes from, for lack of a better word. I might empathize with it, even though I disagree with it totally.
Mm.
You know, and I think that coming from usually, you know, a less politically educated or you know, a group, you know, and I think that they might think that just because they look around at Black nationalist politics today and they don't see much happening. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
And I think that there's a certain despair, there's a certain, you know, aggravation at that, frustration at that, you know, that goes unaddressed by Black national leaders, or who we could possibly term as a Black national leader in 2023. You know, the state of Black national institutions is very, you know, lackluster in terms of addressing the needs of our, you know, our community and our nation. You know what I'm saying? Like whether you look at, you know, Black political organizations, Black political leaders, like there's you know, there it's all Black electoral politics, or it's Black working class alliances with non-Black groups. But what about building a Black national infrastructure? People are frustrated that that is not occurring on a national basis. It's occurring in pockets locally, but I think it's the frustration with that where they're not willing or able yet to make that ideological or theoretical leap to seeing how the Palestinian struggle is our struggle as well. So I just wanted to speak, build a bridge instead of just trying to like outright reject that position.
Understood. I appreciate that as well. What you think, Slank?
No, definitely. That was a really good point. Because a lot of people just don't know how it is connected. So they just see attention paid to one thing and might think, oh, they never, you know what I'm saying? We going through the same thing type of shit that somebody might feel like that. So yeah, that was definitely a good point. But I would say the connections though is just, first of all, Zionism's global. So it's not just restricted to the Middle East or that little like you were talking about Nicaragua earlier. Zionists were involved in funding the Contras and fighting down in Nicaragua. They were involved with like pretty much all the different genocides in Central America in the 80s and Guatemala and back in Rios mine and helping Reagan do all kind of stuff. And also in America, a lot of police departments train over in Israel, get their training on how to basically carry out the same tactics they do on the Palestinians here against us, like and just in general, Zionism, it seeks to expand. So like their ultimate goal is to make what's called Greater Israel, which encompasses like Syria, Lebanon, parts of Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Egypt. So like their ultimate goal is to conquer part of Egypt. And even in the 60s, 67 through like whenever in the 80s they gave it up, but they used to occupy the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. So like Zionism is not just something that is confined over there. They're in the politics of America. They help train our police, you know what I'm saying? And they have ambitions to take over African land. And I'm sure they probably wouldn't stop at Egypt. They would probably have to go to Ethiopia too to, say they got an ancestral link in South Africa. Who knows? They're probably going to go all the way through. But like they back all the neo-colonialists in Africa as well. Pretty much every African puppet from Mobutu all the way through Idi Amin through the present day was backed by Israel. So like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
I saw something today that also Sheikh Anta Diop kind of mentioned their strategic position of Israel is always going to be a threat to Africa. You know what I mean? And anybody who is Pan-African obviously would, I think we have to definitely take into consideration what both of y'all just said and the fact that where it is positioned, it's like you mentioned earlier about what Biden said, like if there wasn't an Israel, we'd have to create one just because of where it is, and so that's definitely a great point, and I definitely appreciate both of y'all insight. Before we get into Nation Time and Nation Time 2, I wanted to ask you, Slank, about Black Dragon, New African, amazing album. First album I ever seen with a bibliography, you know what I'm saying, which is dope. How did you even come up with the idea like to have a bibliography for an album? And if you can tell some of the the fans what books are on that bibliography.
Yeah. Well, actually the first album that we had bibliography for was Nation Time.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
I had a bibliography for that one too. But I just thought of the idea because when we were making that, me and Sonny, both of us were dropping a lot of references. He was using a lot of audio clips as well too in there from Amiri Barka, Sada Shakur, people like that. So I don't know, I just wanted to make like a bibliography instead of just like a standard back cover track list, just have like all the references because I just wanted, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about knowledgeable Black history type of stuff. So I wanted to incorporate somewhere where like, if you want to read more, what our references were, you know what I'm saying? You can check the bibliography. and I did it with Black Dragon New African as well, just because I was talking about a lot of similar concepts and things in that album. And actually the first thing on the Black Dragon New African bibliography is a speech from Nuri Muhammad that he gave to the Urban League in Louisville that me and my little brother went to in 2022. No, I met Nuri Muhammad. I've seen him speak before a couple of years before that at like a mosque in Louisville. But yeah, it's the first time I actually met him. And now his speech is like really inspirational. And I would say that was probably the biggest thing. When I was writing Black Dragon New African, that was like the biggest on a lot of the main tracks was written like right after I went to that speech. So like he was talking about how we can't just be he related a lot of like children's nursery rhyme stuff, and he was talking about how we can't just tell our kids, like, I don't have any kids, but in general, like, gently down the river, merrily, merrily, you know what I'm saying? Life is but a dream, because in a white world, like, you can't just go with the flow. You start to row against the stream, you know what I'm saying? Or you can't just teach your kids, like, Mary had a little lamb, fleece white as snow, without like thinking about what you're really teaching them about, like, you know, how good the white snow is, all that kind of shit.
Right.
But yeah.
No, I was gonna say, like, so how did you and Sonny, you know, I'll come with you, like, you know, when it comes to crafting the you know, well, first, how did you and Slank link up to do Nation Time?
Word, that's a good question. We have, you know, I think I had followed Slank on Twitter, you know, years ago, and just, you know, and just learn from him, you know, like so many other people do. You know, Slank is one of the best resources on Twitter as far as like for the Black radical tradition, Black radical history.
Facts.
And just so happened that we followed each other on Instagram, and I had dropped some I was more active with my music on Instagram at the time, and he had messaged me about it, you know. And just from there, we had just, you know, started exchanging emails. The first song we made actually is one that ain't even came out yet. It's called "What in the World." We're gonna try to drop that this summer. That we actually did that one before anything on Nation Time. But yeah, I mean, we pretty quickly got into making Nation Time 1, or really the first few tracks of it, you know. And yeah, I just sent him some beats. He sent me some ideas back, and he asked me to finish some of the ideas he sent me from that batch, and that's how it started.
Oh, what was kind of like your, all right, so, you know, when it comes to producing an album, you know, whenever you're producing locking in with one artist and producing the whole album, what's the difference, you know, with that compared to that, and that process, that creative process, compared to you know, somebody needs a beat, you send them a beat, you know, and you got one song on their album. Like, what's the difference whenever, you know, with just locking in with one MC?
That's a really good question. I tend to stay away from just trying to have a single beat on somebody's project. You know, I really try to lock in with the artists that I work with, to the point where I tell artists, you ain't got to throw me no money up front. You know, if I'm producing a project for you, we can make money together on the back end. So I'm really much more partial to that, you know. As far as the big change between like Nation Time 1 and 2 would be Nation Time 1, we only worked through email. And but Nation Time 2, Slank came here, what the studio you see me at, and we built it from the ground up here in the studio together, producing and writing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So, well, that's dope. I really can't wait to hear it now, because like I know there's always a difference, and it's like, if you can just kind of maybe speak on that, like, what is the difference this time actually meeting up with Sonny and then, you know, recording that way? You know, I know that has to you know, energize you, you know what I mean, compared to, you know, y'all communicating through email, sending tracks and verses.
No, definitely. Going to the studio over there was a whole different experience, because also because usually I'm used to more like not going to like a home type of setup. like Sonny had like he has like all the shit you need to like get that shit 100% crisp. But I'm used to going to like a studio where I go for a couple hours and then leave. But just being able to like be in there, you know what I'm saying, really hone in, like be there while he's making the beats too, and then even sometimes put input in it. I think there was a couple songs in Nation Time too where I played the bass line on it because I play like key stuff. So like it was a lot more collaborative. There would be times I'm in there writing, he's in there writing his verse, I'm writing my verse, and like we're halfway through, talk about them. Where should we go with this? You know what I'm saying? A lot more able to control the direction and like work off each other. And yeah, I think it'll show definitely on like the final project though.
Yes, dope. Like did y'all, as far as like the concept of Nation Time and Nation Time 2, what was your idea, you know, for the concept, and especially for those who may not have heard the first Nation Time album?
Just me and Slank coming together, like it had a conscious, you know, line, and like everything we did had, you know, was conscious, you know what I'm saying, in its approach. So I mean, once I added some clips on, you know, to the first batch of songs, and then eventually Slank sent me the Amiri Baraka poem, like, yo, what do you think about utilizing this? And then I mean, it instantly stuck, you know, like once we kind of formatted how we wanted to include that in there, just the name came about quickly from that, you know. I think it meshed perfectly for what we was laying down.
Oh, I definitely agree. And for people that don't know, Amiri Baraka has an album called "It's Nation Time" as well, where, you know, it's him, poetry, spoken word with like jazz, and so that's a dope concept that I, you know, just especially with the content and what both of you brothers are about, you know what I mean, and which is also another tie-in to, you know, the Black Arts movement that we spoke about earlier. This is a way, in my opinion, to keep it going. You know what I mean? To give it more life. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate that. Slank, I know you in 2023, man, you've dropped a lot of music. You've been staying busy. What's keeping you motivated and inspired, man? And all dope projects, You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a fall off, that they're different, you know, which is also a good thing. You know what I mean? But like, what's been keeping you motivated?
Definitely, I feel like joining Push Soul, definitely the collective that me and Sonny are in, that he started and stuff with a lot of other dope artists as well.
What's the name of the collective again?
Push Soul.
Okay.
And but yeah, like just having other artists to like meet with on a regular basis. Like we meet weekly, you know what I'm saying, over Zoom right now because we're in different places. But yeah, so like just having that has just helped me make more music and better quality of music and stuff. And just having like different producers too that I've been working with recently. Like the Mary Mac produced Black Dragon New African. And then Anthony G. Supreme produced Deciduous Environments, which is a newer album I put out. And then, of course, working with Sonny and stuff with Nation Time and the other projects we got coming and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm in school right now too, so just trying to having something else to do besides law school, it definitely helps. So like whenever I can look forward to a studio session or whatever, I can on my downtime when I'm not studying, I can write some stuff that just helps. So I just try to make as much music as I can in my downtime.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. And you know, arts and music and all of that is a release for people. You know, it's to be creative, to be in that artistic zone is important. To create something from scratch and have a finished product. There's always I it's a great feeling. It's a beautiful feeling. You know what I mean? Sonny, what was your idea in behind creating the musical collective? Which I think is dope because some of my, when we think of albums and crews, I think of, like Dungeon Family and Wu-Tang and like the, early Death Row, and the fact that whenever you're able to, bounce ideas off of a collective of great musicians, there's always going to be great music being made. But what was your idea, behind, creating the collective?
That's a great question. I'll just say up front, I've been part of like student organizations, local community organizations, even national ones like Malcolm X Grassroots Movement. But I can say honestly, Push Soul is the most revolutionary group I've ever been part of, most revolutionary organization. And it is even though we're just a band of brothers, we're organized, you know what I'm saying, how we approach things. We started meeting weekly before the pandemic started, and we ain't missed no week yet, you know what I'm saying?
No.
As far as it's coming together, not just plan and plot what we want to do musically, because all of us got the dream of being a professional artist, being an artist that can sustain our lives with the art. But we also sustain each other just through the brotherhood as well, in which you can imagine through the pandemic how beneficial that was and what type of bond we was able to forge, you know what I'm saying, just over the years through that. But I've always, I started making music at 14, and so I've been part, and I've started and been part of Music Collective since then. And that's always the way to go, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna roll with a certain group of people, you got to formalize it in some way, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's always been a part of my music journey.
No doubt, no doubt. And so lastly, I want to ask y'all, for one, again, definitely appreciate y'all for coming through. I definitely appreciate the first album, Nation Time. I know Nation Time 2 is going to be crazy. As we anticipate the release of Nation Time 2, what can we expect, from the album in terms of themes, direction, and, for those who may not have heard the first one?
No, definitely a lot of themes, nation building, you know what I'm saying, Black nationalism. Yeah, I would say some of the tracks in this one are a little have like a darker feel to them. Some of my favorite ones that we made so far. But yeah, overall similar concepts, like just basically a concept album that has to do with, Black nationalism. And
yeah, I would just add on to that, like between the second one, like the second one is got a more urgent type feel to it. You know what I'm saying? The first one was an introduction, but this one is like, the body of the story. This one where the action is taking place in a lot of ways, you know what I'm saying?
Also too, man, I need people to understand that y'all make good music. It's not just the things and the ideas, that are expressed. Music still has to sound good. It's extremely important, and y'all make great music, and it happens to have a theme. It happens to have substance, which makes it that even much more great, in my opinion. That's the kind of music that doesn't die. It's things that people relate to, things that people can grow an emotional attachment with. As far as musically, that's the kind of music that lives forever, and that's what y'all did with Nation Time 1. And I have a feeling Nation Time 2, as dope as Nation Time 1 is, I have a feeling Nation Time 2 is probably going to be even doper. You know what I'm saying? And I can't wait, to listen to that, man. And I'm definitely going to have Nation Time 1 will be in the description for everybody that hasn't heard it. But for the people that may just now be tapping into the movement and want to follow you guys and learn more about you, where can they follow you?
I think the most simple place we can point people to is pushsoul.com, pushsoul.com. That's the website for the collective, and you'll get all the latest updates there. But also, our social media accounts. But yeah, pushsoul.com probably the best place.
No doubt.
No, I agree. If you go to pushsoul.com, pushsoul.com, all our like social media is at the top. So like, yeah, you can find my Twitter on there, Slank, Dab Squad _ Slank on Twitter. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, before we go though, Slank, you got to show me some of the books, man. Because I was talking to my homie on the phone earlier today, and I told him what I had on the show. He said, "Man, you got to get him to show some of the books, man. He be posting some jewels, man. So yeah, if you can, the audience is a big fan of that. So yeah, just show us some joints.
Nah, just Black arts related books. Definitely the autobiography of Leroy Jones by Amiri Barka. Yeah, that's a good one. Just about Baraka's life. Preface to a 20-volume suicide note is one of his early like books of poetry. So I would recommend that. Definitely read Blues People. Amiri Barka, goes through the history of blues music and the roots and slavery and African elements in it even. So I would recommend that. This book right here called Black Nationalism in America, edited by John Bracey. Wow. This has some very good essays in it. It looks like Garvey on the front. But it's got some essays about like Askia Ture, who was in the Black Arts movement, a good poet. It's got, a lot of different perspectives. Harold Cruz, who was involved in the Black Arts movement. The Black Arts Theater, they used to have Harold Cruz teaching history classes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And
Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, for those who don't know.
Yeah, this one right here. I just got that. I ain't ready yet, but I just got about to get into it. Sonny, he knows about that one. But
yes, that's major.
Nikki Giovanni, The Women and the Men. This is another book of poetry. Nikki Giovanni was, a Black Arts movement poet, along with like people like Sonia Sanchez.
That's what I was going to ask. Sonia Sanchez was a part of it as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and a lot of jazz musicians, Coltrane, Sun Ra. They used to have a van where they would just ride Sun Ra down the street in Harlem playing like music and stuff. Like that was just a thing they did.
Wow.
And then
That's dope.
I got a whole lot of books over here from Black Dragon New African bibliography. I'll just show some of those. Definitely people should check out Radio Free Dixie about
Robert F. Williams.
Yeah, this one was very good. Even beyond just Negroes and Guns, this one goes into a whole lot of stuff that's not in that one. At one point, Baraka and Robert F. Williams was in Cuba, and the Klan was trying to attack his wife and family back up in North Carolina. And he went to the U.S. Embassy and threatened them, like, if y'all don't send the police to protect my family, I'm gonna blow the ambassador's head off. They protected his family. Black Skin, White Mask by Fanon, that was on the Black Dragon bibliography. Black Awakening in Capitalist America, that's definitely an essential one. Talks about the co-opting of Black power, by Nixon.
Yeah.
And do more
Black capitalism.
Yeah. And Malcolm X Speaks, definitely an essential one. Huey Newton, Revolutionary Suicide. These are all stuff on Black Dragon's bibliography. And George Jackson, Blood in My Eye, I would say after like Malcolm's autobiography, this is probably like one of the most influential books that I've read as far as like
same
stuff like that. And some Lenin, State Revolution, that was on the bibliography. Henry Bibb, Slid Across the River Low Key Like I'm Henry Bibb. He escaped slavery like 7 or 8 times, and like it just kept coming back to try to free
his family, right? Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
Now the stories he goes to in there is definitely very powerful. But yeah, those are just some of the books I had stacked over here for this. So yeah.
No doubt, man. I just wanted to let y'all know again, man. I definitely appreciate the time. I appreciate y'all for coming through. I know the album's going to be amazing. Everybody, make sure you click the links at the bottom for Nation Time One and the pushsoul.com as well. Tap in. It's great music. Also, follow them on their socials. They're extremely intelligent brothers, and with great analysis on what's going on in the world. Slank, Sonny Ture, I salute y'all, man.
No, I appreciate you having
Much love, brother. Much love.
No doubt.
Yes.
Peace.